I love the honey butter chicken biscuit from Whataburger. Now, let me explain to those of y'all who aren't in Texas or possibly even not in America. It's pronounced Whataburger. The proper name is What a Burger. What a burger, but the colloquial name around these parts is Whataburger. I know, it sounds kind of disgusting and gross, but trust me, it's nothing like what you're visualizing right now in your head. The honey butter chicken biscuit is a breakfast item, and it's basically a biscuit sliced in half with a chicken tender placed in the middle and then honey butter spread on top. And the honey butter is mixed around so much that it stays in liquid form. And when you put it all together, it's this wonderful mix of sweet and savory. And there was definitely a point during COVID where, like, for a year, guaranteed once per week, I would go to Whataburger and I would get the honey butter chicken biscuit. On the days when I just didn't want to cook breakfast, that's what I got. And it's not the greatest thing in the world. I'm not going to sit here and say that it's this amazing, mind-blowing breakfast, but like, it's a good breakfast item. It's a steady breakfast item. And for people like me who like sweet and savory together, it's fantastic. But you know what would be even more fantastic? A garlic honey butter chicken beef chili oil biscuit. I think I got it right. The garlic honey will go inside the butter that will be put on the chicken tender, and the beef chili oil will be mixed into the biscuit dough. Because if you didn't know, beef tallow is really good in biscuit dough. So, will these two items work together in the same way for this? If you haven't seen our biscuits and gravy episode, then you're in for a fun time. So the first thing we're gonna do is we're gonna make our own cultured butter and buttermilk. So I have some heavy cream here. We're gonna go ahead and pour it into this gigantic mason jar. I may actually buy another one of these. I could actually make twice as much. But the next thing we're gonna do is we're gonna take some yogurt. We're gonna take a big spoonful of the stuff, and we're gonna throw it in there. There we go. Another spoonful. Good amount. That's enough. Put the lid on. Shake it up. Remove the lid. Clean up this area around the neck. A little bit of cheesecloth around the opening. Butcher's twine around the neck. And then this goes into a room temperature area that's dark for about 2 to 3 days. I think 2.5 is what this will go. And I am going to fill it up the rest of the way with another container of heavy cream. So, we'll see you then. And here we are. And let me tell you, the yogurt that I used to culture this thing must have been strong as shit. Because the cream in this practically looks like cheese. That's what it looks like on top. It's become really, really solid on top. This is technically creme fraiche on top. This is easy. We just get everything from this jar inside the bowl. Scoop it in there. Oh yeah, look at that. That's solid. And then we're gonna set this to a medium-low speed and let it churn for a few minutes. It should very quickly go from this to like a smooth-looking cream until eventually milk solids. And there we go. All right, next order of business, pretty simple. We gotta get the butter out of this liquid mixture. And then I just got a cheesecloth set up. We're gonna go ahead and take this, and then we're just gonna pour the mixture. I'm gonna see if I can get the liquid separated first. The liquid is our buttermilk, and the butter is our butter. Use this cheesecloth, lift it up. There we go. I'm gonna give it just kind of a gentle press. All right, I think that's about as much as I can get out for now. Next order of business, and I'm wearing gloves for this. Take the butter fat, scoop it into the cheesecloth. We'll try to do about half. Wrap it up as best as possible. Squeeze it down. Get as much of the buttermilk as you can out of the butter, because the buttermilk will go bad before the butter. Then get a bowl of ice water. drop it into the ice water. We'll let this kind of set off to the side. We still have half the butter we need to work with. Okay, so with our butter cooling off to the side, let's talk about our buttermilk. I want to reserve about 2/3 of a cup of this stuff. So I'm just going to try to carefully pour it into this measuring cup. The rest I'm going to save in a Tupperware container, and we're going to chill it until we need it. The chicken that we use for this recipe is going to marinate in buttermilk and spices, slap your mama specifically, for 2 days. So let's flavor this so that it tastes good. Perfect. All right, so this goes in the fridge. Let's come back to our butter. There is still buttermilk inside the butter. And the reason it's been in ice water is so that it can get nice and solid. We'll go ahead and turn that over. And then we can start to squeeze this down. And when we squeeze it down, here I'll demonstrate on the one closer to me. When we squeeze the butter down, it'll start to release the excess buttermilk. The water will start to get cloudy, as you can see. And we're just gonna work this for a few minutes, not sure. It'll become significantly lighter in weight, and it'll shrink down by quite a bit. All right, so after working on these for a few minutes, we now have 2 hard, firm butter balls. If you didn't know that's where the name comes from, you do now. I don't waste time trying to shape these into like a really nice looking bar of butter. I honestly just take them, put them in a container, maybe smush them down so they fit in there, and that's it. All right, we're getting to the end of it. So, I got a chicken breast in a vacuum sealed package. We're gonna flatten it out. All right, I'd say that's good enough. Gloves back on, poultry shears, open the bag, as close to the seal as we can. Looks like there's already kind of a natural incision there, so we'll just go ahead and cut that right there. Honestly, this could probably serve as the fillet that goes on our biscuit. As for this, we'll go ahead, we'll cut this one right down here along this side. That'll be a chicken strip. And I'd say with this one, we'll kind of just go straight in. All right, that gives us about 4 pieces. So let's get back to the bag. Very carefully take our buttermilk that we seasoned before and pour it inside. I'll vacuum seal this as tight as I can and clean it up, make sure that it's safe to handle, and then I'll put it in the fridge and let it marinate for 2 days. All right, let's make these biscuits. So we're gonna start off with 1.25 cups of flour. I'm adjusting this recipe, and also I'm not gonna measure very precisely. I am gonna trust the spirit of my ancestors to dictate when this biscuit dough is firm enough or wet enough. 1 tablespoon of baking powder. There it is. 1/2 teaspoon of salt. A full teaspoon of sugar. And we'll whisk up our dry ingredients. Now, what we're gonna do is we're gonna take our butter, our cold butter that's been sitting in the fridge. We're gonna scoop it into this cup here, and we're gonna heat it up until it melts down. We're looking for 1/4 cup of melted butter. This we'll just have to eyeball as best as we can. Scoop some, put some in the cup, scoot some more, put it in the cup, and just keep melting and adding until we get to 1/4 cup. I need 1/4 cup of butter, but I'm gonna use half the amount of butter in the recipe, and the rest I'm gonna replace with our beef fat chili oil, because that's what needs to go into our biscuit dough. All right, that goes off to the side. We bring this over, and we bring our buttermilk over. We want to use 1 cup of buttermilk. And then we're gonna take our butter and oil, give it a quick stir, and we're gonna pour it into our buttermilk. Look at the color on this thing. This is gnarly looking. We're gonna stir this up. The chilled buttermilk is going to hopefully chill down the butter and the oil until they form curds. There we go. We've got solid chunks of butter and oil. Now, we're gonna add this to our dough. This is the point where I stop mixing with a whisk and I start mixing by hand. Just gonna give it a few stirs by hand, and I'd say that looks about right. With biscuit dough, you definitely do not want to overmix. You want something that looks kind of shaggy, a little bit messy. Let's make our batter for our chicken. So that is gonna start with a very small amount, about a half cup of flour. We're not making a lot because I'm only gonna fry up 1 chicken strip, half teaspoon of baking powder. For seasoning, I'm gonna make it easy. Slap your mama, can't go wrong. My previous whisk is still wet, so I got my tiny whisk. Let's just go ahead, stir this up a little bit. You know what? I'm paranoid. Add more seasoning. This batter needs buttermilk. When we add buttermilk, the batter's gonna get clumpy. This is country-style chicken strips, so we want them to be crispy and clumpy so they get nice and craggly on the outside. We don't need much buttermilk. We only need a tablespoon. So that's a half tablespoon. There's another half tablespoon, and that was a little short, so there's 1 more. And with another gloved hand, mix it up. And there we go. Our 2 flour-based portions are done. There's our dough, there's our batter. I'm gonna be making drop biscuits. What does that mean? There's 2 forms of biscuits. There's cut biscuits, where the biscuits have a nice round shape. They're flat on top. These are the biscuits that you're most often thinking of in your mind. And then there's drop biscuits, where you basically just take a scoop of the dough and drop it on a baking sheet. I prefer drop biscuits because the uneven shape and the craggly portions that get formed on top in the bake have a really good crunch. What do I rate this? Well, in terms of appearance, it definitely looks nothing like a Whataburger honey butter chicken biscuit. But let's see how it tastes. The chicken is perfectly cooked and it's perfectly seasoned. It's got that tangy buttermilk flavor. I don't taste much of the butter. I definitely got some there. Maybe I need more. Maybe I need more honey. Maybe I need more sweetness in the honey butter, because I think that's the thing that you taste the most in the Whataburger version. In fact, let me do that right now. Put it inside, really get it on there. Okay, there it is. The garlic doesn't really add all that much. It's there, but it blends in with the flavor of the beef fat chili oil, which you can definitely taste. And that beef fat chili oil has garlic in it. And so this doesn't really stand out all that much. I'm kind of disappointed, you know? Let me try regular honey. Here we go. Yeah, I should have used that instead. So yeah, it's okay. You can't get a home run every time that's cooking, but I hope the process was entertaining for some of y'all. And if you're still here at the end, thank you so much for watching. I'm gonna go ahead and finish this. Until we see each other again, go cook something amazing, and I will see you next time.